Welcome back to Let's Play Higurashi, Meakashi. Kai! Continue. So, tips. Look, it's another crumpled diary. Will it be an actual cutscene like last time, or an actual crumpled diary this time? Well, first things first, we gotta get the word of the day out of the way. It's only like freaking like, let me see. Yeah, even with, yeah, I see. Sky's all grayish white and rainy and shit, so that explains why it's dark. It's like it's not even 3 o'clock yet. Well, it's almost 3 o'clock. And it freaking feels like it's like early morning. Anyway, what should the word of the day be? How about some in the news section, I suppose? How about... There's not many in this section. Not many words beginning with new, then, I guess. Numa Marsh. Haven't I gone over that before? Well, maybe. I think that was back when I was like trying to find out what was it? I can't even remember. What was the original name of Hinamizawa? I forget. Onigafuchi, I think that's what it was called. And I think that might have been that sort of, because it had a similar meaning. Like Demon's Abyss or something like that, but it could also just be a marsh or whatever. But whatever, that'll do. Do. Yep, it's like last time. My aunt finally stopped her hysterical screaming. Today was just like any other day. I can't remember what set her off. Whatever it was, she changed subjects constantly anyway. It didn't matter. She went on past midnight again. The urge to sleep was pounding the back of my head. Once Satoko had been able to relax, she fell down on the spot and started sleeping, still clinging to my sleeve. I carried Satoko to the bedroom and laid out her futon. Here, Satoko, your futon is ready. So, get in, okay? Satoko crawled in like a worm. She stopped moving once she was inside. I wished I could go to bed too, but I couldn't. My aunt asked me to do some chores. I had to get toothpaste after school tomorrow. I had to write it down somewhere. Seriously, their aunt is a mega bitch. Like, well, that doesn't even do it justice. She's a horrible freaking shit bitch fuck ass hole. It's just... I just don't get it. Why are people like that? I have to make rice for lunch tomorrow. It's like, I remember, like, this one list. I can't remember what the list was for. I think it was, like, just show, like, for news or something like that. It's like, mind-blowing things happening in the weekend. They had a different entry on one of the lists where it was, like, this one married couple, like, I think in the US, I can't remember where in the US, like, they were apparently, like, treating their kids, like, really badly. Like, pretty much just, I can't remember the details, but it was, pretty much, like, had them in chains or some shit. I was like, what? Boggles the mind. Anyway, set the timer. Right, I also had to repile the towels in the bathroom. That was the reason for today's scolding. My aunt will get mad if everything isn't done the way she wants. Oh, and there was something else. I was working at the grocery store the next day. They want me to bring an apron. Did we even have an apron in this house? I'd never seen one. My aunt will be sleeping when I go to school, so I won't have time to ask her. What should I do? Since Mion helped me get that job, I don't want to screw it up. In that case, why don't I ask Mion about it at school? She might lend me one. Was there anything else? I was envious of Satoko because she got to go to bed. It was pathetic that I felt that way. You know, I wonder if he's gonna ask Mion when it's actually Shion about this, and Shion will be like, I don't know anything about that. Just like, Mion didn't give me any details on what you were after. Baseball! Who's speaking? Just gonna assume, for the time being, that it's Shion for some reason. Hey there, how are you guys doing in the heat? Oh, it is. Oh, Mion-san, we're doing good. It's been a while since I've appeared, isn't it? Is that our refreshments? Thanks so much. You're such a great manager. What? What? She's already a manager? I just felt like coming here. I didn't bring this for you, by the way. Don't treat me as your manager without my permission, please. Yeah, she's not the manager yet. But it probably already, the deal has been sealed. He's number 1, Satoshi's number 7. We'd be a stronger team if you were our manager, Mion. Why don't you apply? As manager, I mean. Satoshi-kun smiled at me in a carefree manner. I didn't want to become their manager, it'd be tiresome. I've been coming every week, though, so I'm a quasi-manager already. How many bloody weeks must have passed since the previous scene? That's the thing, there's like time in the story is just really vague, isn't it? Just like one scene to the next, it'd be like, oh, maybe a few hours in between, or minutes even, or maybe a day or two, and then freaking weeks? It's gonna be even more disorientating, I suppose, when it gets to the time skip, just like 1 year later, in the current plot, because, you know, this is technically taking place in the past. Before that, well, the whole thing is taking place in the past when you think about it. It's set in the early 1980s. Well, if I feel like it. Anyway, how's Satoshi-kun doing, coach? Is his batting average improving? Yes, he's doing fine. His batting average is, well, you buy 3 packs of rice crackers at 7 spot. Does that mean it's 30%? Wow. You're doing great, Satoshi-kun. It's not just about the number, Mion. I have to be able to hit the ball when it really counts. I can't tell if that's Coach or Shion saying that. It's good that you're aware of your weaknesses, Satoshi-kun. You should continue work on NM for now. Irie signaled to the pitcher, who then threw the ball. Satoshi-kun looked calm, following the ball with his eyes, then he swung. Whack! The ball flew between the first and second bases and landed in the distance. Wow, that's great! Good job, Satoshi-kun! I clapped and Satoshi-kun blushed in response. He repositioned his helmet to hide his face. Well, he's good in practice and when the game is slow. Irie smiled compassionately. It seemed that Satoshi-kun really couldn't perform well when it counted. While he was usually good when everybody expected him to perform, he couldn't. I didn't think it was because of nervousness, he just couldn't do it. I think it's a perfect fit for Satoshi-kun's character. Seems calm at first glance, but he's actually slow. This makes me think, like, when I play guitar, it's like sometimes I'll just be playing guitar really well and be like, yeah, and then when it comes to, like, it's just like, oh, I'm going to actually use in one of my videos, record it or some shit, and then it's just like, whomp, 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 whomp. Can't play it right all of a sudden. It's like, remember when I did that, I was back in Hinamizawa where I just randomly picked up my guitar and tried playing along to that one track that's like do 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 do, and I failed miserably. But if you saw my New Year video, or the part where I inserted a New Year video section for Higurashi into it, you'll know that that didn't happen there, did it? No, it didn't sound off. It fit perfectly. All the, well, it's like aside from the first one where it's like did that do 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 Which sounded a bit kind of odd because I was playing each section, like the piano and the strings, separately, I think. And I was like trying to play along to the actual track. I had headphones on listening to that and just trying to get my timing right. But it sounded a bit odd in some sections. But still, for what it was pretty decent. And the one where it's like do 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 do, and then when I like do in an octave where it's like do 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 do, then it goes into that track like do boom boom do 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 do. You know, I can play it well in that kind of way because I can just, you know, relax a bit, you know. But when I'm recording like this and I decide to pick up my guitar, it can go either way. Well, it can go either way regardless, but still, why do I always ramble? Numerically speaking, you're a great player, but you need to be able to hit the ball when things get serious. That's why you were an easy out in the match where you could hit Jaguars the all day. Shut up, I know that. If he'd been able to hit the ball then, he would have been a hero. Well, no wonder why he was depressed about it then. A shame. A hit could have put the offense into the lead, or at least given them an extension. That was when Satoshi came up to bat. Irie wanted him to live up to everybody's expectations, but statistically that wasn't likely to happen. Yet Irie insisted on giving him a chance, in spite of the fact that all the team members had suggested a pinch hitter. Is a pinch hitter that one way just like, and just like, oh, what a weak shot. Pathetic, but then they get to the base anyway. Somehow. Not all the time, I imagine. Because that probably makes it easy to catch. It's just like, probably just catches them off guard, if anything. It would have been perfect if you could, wait, no, it's probably Shion. It would have been perfect if you could have hit it. Why didn't you? Why can't you hit the ball in a situation when it really matters? There was nothing I could do. I know I'm weak in a situation like that. I thought a pinch hitter was a better idea too. It's not about the match, it's about you, Satoshi-kun. You need to be more aggressive. Shouldn't you have fought the opposite way? Shouldn't you have insisted that you'd come up to bat no matter what everybody else said? I can't believe you wanted to give away the chance to some pinch hitter. Why are you so weak like that? That's what I'm always telling him. I know that's one of his good points too, but you can be a gentleman at all times. When playing games, you should be a demon. I think all men should have those two sides to them. You need to let your demon out, Satoshi-kun. You're native to Hinamizawa, so never forget that you have the demon's blood running through your veins. Are you listening? Satoshi-kun! I am. I'm not sure, bud. What aren't you sure about? We're talking about you. So, whoa. Satoshi-kun suddenly started stroking my head. He looked delighted for some reason. The one way to shut her up. A blush immediately spread across my face. I didn't know how to respond. Yeah, it just like he must be aware of that by now. Just like this will stop her from being like all like just shouting at him like that. Just like, no. You're giving me advice, right? Thanks. I'll do my best. Hey, don't you try to fool me. I'm not. I'm just happy that you care about me. Ha ha ha. I couldn't resist his hand. I couldn't help mumbling like he does. So she can run back to the field, leaving me red as a beet. Do you feel good when you have your head stroked? Depends. If it were you, I'd have to teach you a new martial arts technique. What a shame. Alright, everyone gather around. Why don't you split into groups and have a practice match? Coach clearly wanted to pat her on the head randomly. The Hinamizawa fighters are sort of a lazy team. The members gather simply to enjoy playing baseball, not to fight for victory. They are the Besaid Aurochs of baseball. The Okinawa Titans use this field too, but they practice on a different day of the week. They always train hard using dumbbells and stuff. You know, that's a thing in sports, really, isn't it? It's like, you play to win kind of thing, and I'm like thinking of football or soccer, you know. And I don't watch it, but I have paid attention to it in the past, like when World Cups come around and shit like that. And, like, there's some teams that seem to have this kind of strategy where they're just like, okay, we're going to try to score one goal and then hog the ball for the rest of the game or some shit. And it's just like, boring. It's like, but we play to win, but it's boring. Put your heart into it, god damn it. I remember in my Final Fantasy X LP, before I got good stats with the Blitzball, I'd always just hog the ball to level up the team members. Now when I play Blitzball, which I freaking starting to hate because I have to play so many leagues because I'm trying to get freaking the Sigil for Walker Celestial Weapon, and it's just too many Blitzball games. But now I just kick ass at the game so I don't have to hog the ball all the time. The ball just naturally comes to my team because they're good at getting the ball back. They didn't used to be though, they used to suck ass. Maybe that's what they're thinking. It's like, no, let's get some experience kicking the ball, passing it around and all that. Maybe that's what they're doing as well. It's like, well, get practice on that, so midfield and defense will get good, but we'll completely forget about offense because we're not using it. Our teams play into two groups and start the match to retain their loose atmosphere. I'll keep track of the score. Coach, do you have a pencil? Thanks for helping out. Here. Light up the pencil and the clipboard. I didn't know how to differentiate between recording hits and errors at first, but by now I was used to it. You know what? One interesting thing I find about Japanese is they don't tend to write out numbers using kanji characters unless there's like a specific reason to. Like if you see like anything written in Japanese, you'll usually see numbers written out, you know, like how you'd see numbers. I mean, think of it like how in English we use numbers like that. It's like 1, 2, 3, and 4. We don't spell them out. We do occasionally, but it usually just be like, oh, just 1, 2, 3, and so on. I think it's kind of similar with Japanese. They only use it for specific things, and they also use like the kanji characters for like 1, 2, 3, 4, and all that, combined with another kanji character to make a different word and context, kind of thing. I think that's the only reason they'd actually use the kanji characters for them, otherwise it'd just appear as a 1, 2, 3, 4, and whatnot. Show me what you got, Satoshi-kun. Oh, maybe it'll be too much pressure if I cheer you too excessively. Just do okay then. That doesn't sound very encouraging either. Do your best. Time passed slowly that Sunday. You know what? Let's have a look. It's mandatory that I do this at least once per recording, it seems. You're just like 80 minutes into this, it's like, oh, he's finally not gonna do that. And here it is anyway. That's gotta be Sunday. Because I think this right here, I can't remember what kanji. I've got my kanji thing right here. God damn it, I can move that out of the way. Which page is that one on? It's got it in here somewhere. Okay, it's in this section somewhere. What is the meaning of that character? It's day, which makes sense. Oh, and fitly enough, it's got Sunday right here. And it uses, look how confusing that is. You got day and day, and I'm not sure what character that is. Let's see how that one's pronounced yo though. So you got these two characters that are the same thing, right? But this is Nichi yo, which is yo u, but probably pronounced, well, I've heard it pronounced, so it's like Nichi yo. You think, oh, Nichi yo Nichi? No, Nichi yo B. You see, there are different readings in Japanese. You got a Japanese reading and a Chinese reading. The first one in that is using the Chinese reading, while the last one is using the Japanese reading. How confusing is that? And Japanese reading is he and ka, but I've noticed there seems to be a case where they kind of alter it. So instead of he, it's be. That looks identical written out in hiragana or katakana, but they've got these two little lines above the character that differentiates it. It's kind of weird. So yeah, and then the Chinese reading, which was at the start then Nichi, but you've also got, I think that's Jitsu, Yeah, Jitsu. I mean, how confusing is that? You got different readings, you'd have to freaking get a lot of practice to understand it, you know? And according to my book, even native Japanese speakers themselves have trouble recognizing what reading to go with some kanji characters. So, with that, if that is true, then I suppose that makes it a little better. If for example, I'm native English speaker here, you know? English is my first language, and I still have trouble with some bloody words. Huge white clouds appeared in the sky. They made me feel healthy. Well, nothing but huge white and grey clouds obscuring the sky from where I am. Just another dull winter day. Humans are born to be active under the sun. Well, what about us Brits then? The sun is rarely there, and when it is in winter, it's always so damn low in the sky it's blinding. Seriously, man. One of the parents was acting as umpire today, so Irie sat on a bench with me. He shouted words of encouragement to the kids while they ran to their positions. I can't remember, is the umpire the guy or the girl, whoever catches the ball, like behind the batter? Is that the umpire, or am I thinking of someone else? I don't know much about baseball. But, if that's the case, I'm just imagining, one of the kids' mother is just there, and just, shouting words of encouragement and making terrible jokes. I don't know why, just imagine that. Any other baseball coach would constantly berate them, but he was much more generous, like a kindergarten teacher. He let the kids have fun while watching over them. You know what? I'm curious. Where could it be? It's in my kanji thing as well, somewhere. I can't remember what section, though. I'm just kind of curious to see if it's true that the kanji characters match up. I don't even know where the kanji characters are. Good look at the index, I suppose, or glossary, whatever. Actually, I think it's in that section, actually. Where is that? Where is the kanji character there is? There's kindergarten we're looking for. But that could also work, I suppose. Maybe. The thing is, for example, it's got elementary school. Wait, I haven't got a mic up properly. Elementary school, for example, Shogako. Gakko, I think, is essentially school. But for elementary school, they use the kanji character for small, which makes sense. And I think they use, actually, is here? Yeah. And Daigaku is college, and they use the kanji character for big. So it kind of, has some kind of, structure that makes sense there. It's oh, you got an earlier school? Okay, that's small. And you got, essentially college is an optional thing, really, isn't it? But that's whatever. That's the big leagues there. You're in the big leagues now, so big kanji character. So yeah, that's kinda interesting, but whatever. Get on with it. You let the kids have fun while watching over them. To other baseball players, it might look a little naive. I'm surprised you guys can do well with only a small amount of practice. It's an Hinamizawa romp around every day. So, the amount of exercise they get surpasses that of the city kids. Besides, too much training is not always effective. Wow, you think completely different from the Okinawa Titans. I can understand why their coach hates you. It's not about being right. Actually, it exists for someone to win, after all. So prioritizing victory certainly isn't wrong. I think it's admirable to aim for victory together. But the goal of our team doesn't happen to be victory, that's all. The Hinamizawa fighters and Okinawa Titans had been rivals for a long time. Both teams shared the same baseball field, for one thing, and originally there was only one team, but the people living in Hinamizawa left and made their own. Anyhow, we were rivals. The Okinawa Titans were strictly about winning, and the Hinamizawa fighters were just about having fun. Surprisingly, our scores weren't that different, which meant our team had something they didn't. Even though I couldn't put it into words, I knew what made that happen. Hey, Team 1, no slacking. You can make up the 2-point difference pretty easily. Team 2, no slacking either. Oh, maybe that was one of the parents then. Still, some parents would criticize our coach for being too lenient, but still others would strongly agree with him. Which side would I take? The latter? I couldn't really say for sure. The reason for this was that Irie had an obnoxious habit of sexual harassment. What? In particular, he had a fascination with maids, I suppose. But I should talk about that some other time. Well, we know all about his odd maid fetish and how he's, not above sharing it with everyone he meets, it seems. Remember when Keiichi met him? I mean, Keiichi was pretty much a stranger. He didn't know Irie at the time. And he wasn't just like, no, I'll talk about maids. Aren't they the most wonderful thing in the world? Satoshi could let the ball pass twice to see its trajectory, then hit it on the third pitch and ran to first base. Oh, he did it! He's so good when he's relaxed. In the beginning, he used to get tired very easily. He's improved quite a lot since then. He really does look like, kind of look like a bookworm. I wonder why he started playing baseball in the first place. All the other kids who joined the baseball team loved baseball. They'd go out to play in the fields outside of practice. That's why they all had an aptitude for it. But Sis never said that Satoshi couldn't exercise intensively in school or anywhere else. He only likes to read. That's why I didn't understand why he started playing for this team to begin with. That's because I invited him. Is that so? So you recruited him? Did you notice some sort of hidden talent? Excuse me, can I have a cup of barley tea? Oh, thank you. Here he is, full tea in a suspicious manner. Well, certainly the way I've reckoned it. Voiced it, but not in a suspicious manner. More of a kind of, what the fuck was that voice kind of manner. While he constantly joked around, I knew he was actually a very mature person. I assumed he was trying to evade my question. Is there a particular reason? Irie pretended he didn't hear me, but I pressed him out in response. He shrugged and began answering the question. I think you might be able to guess. What would be Mion Sonozaki's guess? I quickly searched through the data I had on Satoshi-kun. I came up with Satoshi-kun's family circumstances. He lost his parents in an accident a year ago. Since then, he's been having a tough time at his uncle's home. So you invited him so that he could vent. Sports are great. You can free yourself through exercise. I thought that as long as he concentrated on something else, he could forget about his troubles at home. He's usually sort of a daydreamer, zoning out all the time. Is he still stressed? I know Satoshi-kun must be suffering, even though he didn't look like it. But Mion's son is like he never pays attention to things like that, and I had to act like she does. Satoshi-kun got really sick after his uncle took him into his custody. He had many clinical symptoms, but the causes were unknown. Satoshi-kun often got sick after he was taken into his uncle's custody. He suffered from fatigue and migraines. He suffered from a lack of energy and sleeplessness. The coach, Dr. Irie, soon realized Satoshi-kun was suffering from a psychological disorder. Most of the people in Hinamizawa knew how bad Satoshi-kun's environment was. It was natural for him to become sick because he entered that bad habit right after his parents' deaths. Hojo-san cannot express himself freely. Whether it's crying or simply being agitated, he's not good at handling those emotions. That's true, I can't imagine him being angry or crying. Did you know Hojo-san's mother has been married a few times already? Yeah, I know a little bit about that. Satoshi-kun's mother had married a number of men over the years. That meant Satoshi-kun had several stepfathers. He had to deal with strangers coming into his home multiple times, so he's forced to be mature. Satoshi-kun is mentally undeveloped. He isn't aware of it himself, though. He didn't have enough time to cry, laugh, and throw tantrums in his childhood. He was forced to become a grown-up in just a short time. That doesn't sound right. Children have to behave like children in order to grow. There's nothing positive about being forced to become an adult. Not only was Satoko's current relationship with her aunt conspicuously terrible, I heard that her relationships with her previous stepfathers weren't good either. Satoko always caused problems, and Satoshi-kun would always step in to protect her. I thought his physical symptoms came from the stress his body was taking and trying to warn him. That's why Irie invited Satoshi-kun onto the baseball team. He told Satoshi that he needed a new member, or something like that. He hesitated at first, but after I talked to him at the clinic a few times, he began to open up to me. First I invited him to come see the practice. Then I suggested he try batting. I eased him into it. Sports worked excellently for Satoshi-kun. His health quickly improved and he started to become interested in baseball. He practiced batting, he was soon able to swing beautifully, and he learned how to see the trajectory of the ball. I can imagine that. He likes to read, so he must have read a book titled How to Play Baseball or something like that. He's become good batter very quickly. He's put forth a lot of effort, though I wish he could actually hit when it comes down to the wire too. Are you guys close? I think so. He talks to me about his problems, so I guess that's a sign of trust. I felt a bit jealous of how confidently Irie said that. Once Satoshi-kun and I were friends, we weren't so close that we'd open up to each other like that. Oh, are you jealous? Eh? About what? Taken aback, I blushed. Irie started laughing at me. Please stay as his good friend. Well, yeah, I'm trying. I didn't know what I was saying. Oh, the glasses are fogged up. You know, regarding Hojo-san, he seems a little sick again lately. What? Whack! The ball flew to the left, but the left fielder managed to catch it. It seemed that the relationship between Satoko and her aunt had gotten worse lately. It was obvious his sickness had something to do with that. Their aunt is bullying Satoko-chan in a terrible way. She's become worn out after all that. And so Satoshi-kun is also worn out from covering for Satoko, isn't he? I wasn't interested in Satoko, so I switched the subject back to Satoshi-kun. I didn't know much about Satoko. I knew that she was a big part of Satoshi-kun's life, but I'd never been interested in her until today. She must have been building up self-esteem and taking care of her unreliable little brother. That was all I knew about her. But considering Satoshi-kun's personality, even that goofiness of his might have been an act. Maybe he was trying to make her feel good about herself by letting her take care of him. If only unconsciously. When he's alone, he's surprisingly strong. I realized that only recently, so I couldn't help but think that his whole life is constantly affected by Satoko. Satoshi-kun managed to get along with his stepfathers even though he experienced some stress. He was even getting along with his aunt. But in order to protect Satoko, he always had to step in and suffer. I didn't really know anything about Satoko, but I have to admit I felt hostile towards her. I felt jealous because she was monopolizing him. It seems that their aunt has been tyrannizing Satoko-chan even more lately. That might be what's causing Satoshi-kun's sickness. Irie heaved a sigh. As he said, Satoshi-kun had been absent a few times lately. He seemed a bit tired too. He looked normal when around everybody else, but he looked a bit depressed when he was alone. So you invited him to join the team to relieve his stress, didn't you? Yes, that's right. But he looks stressed again now. How can we save him this time? I don't know. He smiled pouchily. I couldn't help feeling a bit disappointed about that because Satoshi-kun put his trust in him. Just between you and me, Satoshi-kun recently told me that he wanted to leave the team. Eh? How come? He claimed he was tired of it. That's what he said. But I believe he actually wants to spend more time with Satoko-chan. He thinks that Satoko-chan might end up being tortured while he's at practice. I think he's concerned about that. I was left speechless for a while. Satoko again. Satoko. Why did Satoshi-kun have to sacrifice so much for her? Just by ignoring her, his stress would melt away. Of course I knew he couldn't do that. If that were the case, then the blame lay with his little sister. I knew how badly she'd been treated. But that only happened because she made things worse for herself. It was her fault that she couldn't establish a decent relationship with their aunt. Makes me wonder just how, like Satoko's personality doesn't clash well with certain people, I guess. But how would, if she didn't, set off her aunt in her own way that she does, what would life have been like for them, I wonder? Or would it still have been shit? Probably still would have been shit, but not as shit. If Satoko were more mature like Satoshi-kun, her home life wouldn't have gotten so bad. Satoshi-kun wouldn't have to suffer those indirect blows. In the meantime, the baseball team's practice match had become one-sided. It wasn't even worth watching anymore. The members of the losing team were just goofing off. The sky had turned cloudy too. It was depressing. It didn't look like it'd rain soon, though. That grey sky brought along any cool air. It just felt disgusting. Irie became quiet. He was looking down around his feet. I, meanwhile, just stared at Satoshi-kun. To me, he didn't look active anymore. He was once able to enjoy playing baseball, and he felt fine. But he got sick again, just because the relationship between Satoko and her aunt had deteriorated. I couldn't help but say it. Should we do something about Satoko instead? It was just a murmur, but Irie had definitely caught it. What do you mean, Sonozaki-san? It's not that complicated. If Satoko were strong, Satoshi-kun wouldn't have to deal with stress. I think Satoko is the cause of everything. Oh. I don't know about that. You can't say that in front of Irie, Shion. Well, she doesn't know, does she? Yes, you do. If she didn't cause any trouble, he wouldn't have to step in, would he? He wouldn't have to take over in the fight between Satoko and her aunt, right? Satoshi-kun never got scared of any trouble. No matter how formidable the enemy, he'd bravely stand up to protect the weak. I knew that because I could vividly imagine it. Whenever the aunt shied Satoko, Satoshi-kun steps in to protect her. The aunt probably didn't like it. Though Satoshi-kun didn't have to fight, the aunt would attack him anyway. The fight would then be between the aunt and him. Satoko might then tease the aunt by sticking out her tongue, hiding behind his back, and pretend to be scared. How can he be sure of that? I mean, we saw that one tip quite a while back, and saw that kind of dead-in-the-eyes look that Satoko had. I don't think she'd be, poking her tongue out at the aunt in a situation like that. She'd never think about how deeply he was being hurt. Because of Satoko, Satoshi-kun had become cornered and stressed. I'm surprised to hear this from you, Sonizaki-san. I thought you were Satoko-chan's friend, her classmates. Big sister kind of figure. I thought you'd always be on her side, but what you've said is surprising to me. Irie looked at me suspiciously. You've blown your cover! I could tell what he was thinking about me. I'd said too much. Mion, Sonozaki, and Satoko Hojo are friends. They're close. Some Mion should have been encouraging her. After the situation at home got tougher, that's what Mion was supposed to do. I totally forgot about that and spoken as myself. It's only natural that Irie would give me a suspicious look. Might end up changing his impression of Mion, Sonozaki, entirely. I'd have to apologize to her about this and ask her to put things right. I totally messed up. Even so, I didn't think I'd said anything wrong. I'd objectively looked at the situation and made a modest proposal. Well, she doesn't know too much about the situation. She knows it from sort of, to an extent, Satoshi's perspective, but she doesn't know anything about Satoko's. To be honest, I was simply afraid that he might leave the team. I couldn't go to the school in Hinamizawa, so the baseball field was the only place where I could see him. I could even say that he was my reason for living. That's right, I was in love with him. But I wasn't going to tell him how I felt, obviously, for I was satisfied just being by his side. I certainly couldn't ask for anything more. After all, I couldn't reveal my true identity. I had to pretend to be Mion in order to live in Okinawa. I thought that maybe I should leave Okinawa in order to be free. But that's stupid. No matter how tough my life might be, I prefer to be here, with Satoshi-kun stroking my head every now and then. Why did I love that much? I read about it in some manga once. You don't need a reason to be in love. I was surprised at myself for being like this. Calm down, Shion. I breathed out slowly, then held my breath, trying to slow my throbbing heart. What if Coach heard that one then? I felt a bit calmer. At that point, a clear thought came into my head. I want to be with Satoshi-kun. So I want to stay on the team. So I want to get rid of his concerns and his stress. So what? So what can I do to achieve all that? My head started to cool down as I heard the umpire shout, "Game, set, and match!" Higurashi when they cry. Die. Scene. Some days I see him, some days I don't. Our clear sky gets cloudy and rain will always stop eventually. I thought his absence was just like that, but he was actually on the verge of a breakdown. Notebook page 19. The rainy season was just around the corner, and the air had become so humid that my shirt stuck to my skin. What is the rainy season in Japan? It had been a few weeks since Satoshi-kun stopped showing up for baseball practice. I looked for him as soon as I arrived at the field. He's not here yet. Did I get here too early? I want to see him playing in the field right when I get here. It started arriving late because of those feelings. Referee wasn't here today either. I didn't even bother hiding my disappointment anymore. Everybody knew by now how I felt. The team members from Mion's class came over to try and console me, but I shooed them away. She's like, fuck off. What's going on, Sonozaki-san? Are you feeling sick? Even Irie couldn't comfort me. I was aware that he too knew why I was like this. I'm going home. I don't feel like watching the practice today. Look, we're having a meeting with the Okinawa Titans later. I wanted you to be there because you're our manager. Don't treat me like a manager. I never agreed to be one. Irie looked down, not knowing what to say. Alright, please help us again when you feel like it. Maybe I won't come... Wait, maybe I won't be coming back. What? Maybe I won't be coming back. If you really need a manager, look for somebody else. Please do come again, whenever you feel like it. Satoshi-kun will be sad if you're not here when he comes back. I ignored him and turned around. I'd already set up my schedule with Mion, so I didn't have to ask her every time anymore. I tried to contact her a couple of times to ask how Satoshi-kun was doing in school, but I hadn't been able to get through to her. Apparently the hag had sensed that I might be in contact with Sis. In other words, Sis was being watched. As a result, it hasn't been easy to contact her. Kasai, who had been helping me contact her, seemed to also have been marked. People knew he was loyal to me. Hadn't seen him for a while either. All I could do was wonder how Satoshi-kun was doing. I was frustrated because there was no way for me to know. My head was filled with worries, but something surprised me out of the blue. Somebody called out to me when I was about to leave the field on my bike. Who could it be? Find out in the next part. So, see you next time, viewers. See you next time.